The Toyota Crown has received an all-new redesign for 2023. Actually, scratch that, they revealed a whole new lineup or sub-brand just for the Crown. But before we go over anything about the new Crown that was revealed for the United States, we have to go over the forbidden fruit that we are likely not getting in other markets. So Toyota has revealed 4 vehicles in the Crown lineup: a sedan, a crossover type, which is the one we'll be getting in the United States, a sport type, and also an estate type. They have these names, but it's basically a sedan and 3 crossovers. Or if you count this new Crown that we're getting in the United States as a sedan, it's going to be 2 sedans and 2 crossovers. Anyway, moving on, if you look at the sedan, it's absolutely beautiful and it's worthy of a flagship. And I absolutely love how this looks. The profile has a nice presence to the vehicle. It definitely looks grand. The body lines are clean and simple, yet it looks very elegant, kind of like what Mazda's doing, but more expensive. You get this nice vent right below the A-pillar, which gives it this nice muscular and sporty look. And you get these nice massive wheels. It looks absolutely great. They integrated the light bar on the front perfectly. The rear is one of the car's best angles. The profile is perfect. I love how the rear swoops down, and I love the rear light bar as well, and that looks really good. And it looks like it's worth 80 to 90 grand in my opinion. Like, it looks that good to me. It looks really good. I would bet money that this vehicle is going to share that TNGA-L platform that's with the Mirai and the Lexus LX. But moving on, we get the Sports CEV, and I love how this one looks as well. So if you've seen this before, it's because you have. It's the Toyota crossover EV that debuted in December. Again, Toyota did an amazing job with this one. I love the front. It looks absolutely amazing. It looks futuristic yet modern with those LED headlights. The side profile, again, it's amazing. Like the sedan, like I said before, and it's not trying too hard with using a lot of lines and stuff like a Hyundai product, but it's very European in the design, which is what I like a lot. The wheels match this vehicle perfectly, I think, and I love the rear as well. If you take a look at those taillights, it looks like an RX-7, and if you can bring RX-7 design elements in a modern SUV, that's a win in my opinion. And we also got some vents in the rear as well. It looks like vehicle's a lot more expensive. I've seen people compare it to a Ferrari. I think I see a little bit of Bentley Bentayga in there. So personally, I think this looks better than a lot of compact luxury XUVs, such as the GV70, the X3, and even the GLC. And if you want to take a look at Lexus, I think this looks better than the NX, in my opinion, as well. Next is going to be the wagon. And I think I like the estate or wagon model the least. I think it has the most unattractive front end out of all of them. The whole vehicle looks like elongated RAV4 in my opinion. The rear is probably the best part of the vehicle. It looks a little more premium with that profile and the light bar, and it reminds me of a Jaguar F-Pace. Toyota calls this a functional SUV, and it has rear seats that can fold completely flat. But in the end, these are all 3 concepts, and there's not really much more information about this other than what I've shared here today. So now enters the SUV type, as Toyota of Japan calls it, and this is going to be our own Toyota Crown that we're getting in the United States. Toyota of North America actually calls this a sedan. So it seems like Toyota doesn't even know what kind of styling or what kind of vehicle this new Crown is.
Then you'll say, we're not talking about this or this, we're talking about this!
So in looking in terms of our Crown, our sedan SUV thing, the Crown's overall height comes in at 60.6 inches. So that's going to be nearly 4 inches more than the Camry. The length is going to be at 194 and its width is going to be at 72.4 inches, while the wheelbase is at 112 inches. I'll go over the exterior pretty quickly, as a lot of it is the same with my previous Toyota patent video. The first thing I noticed immediately is that we're not going to be getting those Crown logos for the United States versions. The front has those BZ4X styled headlights. Right below that is a massive grille. You'll notice this vehicle is tune-toned, and many have expressed their distaste with that look. I think it looks fine, but only with more boring colors such as a silver, a white, a gray. Not so much with red and yellow like I've seen here. The side profile is more of a sloping SUV profile, something like the X4, the GLC Coupe, and we get this random cladding on the side of the vehicle as well, which makes no sense in my opinion, just clutters the whole side profile and what otherwise is fairly clean design in my opinion. We get into the rear and you'll see my biggest flaw with the vehicle. You see that right there in the rear. You know what that is? It's a trunk. And personally, I was shocked when I pulled up the pictures and I saw that this did not have a hatch or a liftback. And to me, like, that kind of defeats the point of the whole vehicle. Like, what's the point of raising the vehicle, giving it SUV profile, just for it to have a trunk? So when I saw the patent images, I was kind of willing to forgive the SUV styling, the raised ride height, as long as they have liftback, which means SUV-like practicality. And for those of you who don't know, I drive a 2009 Avalon, which this vehicle is replacing. And this vehicle could have solved one of the biggest issues I have with the car other than fuel economy, and that's going to be the storage flexibility. So in that car, the trunk is big enough for me to fit like $200 worth of groceries, no problem, and other daily stuff. But if you need to move more than anything else, you're going to have more issues. For example, I bought like a used piano the other day, a digital piano, and I tried to put it in the back, and I had to get really creative, with the angles and stuff, in order for it to fit back there. And the car seats don't really lower, so it kind of sucks. And you have zero vertical advantage. So if I were to buy something like a TV, like a 55-inch TV, I'd probably have to pay to get shipped because it's definitely not fitting in the back of the Avalon because the seats don't fold down. I know the new Avalons definitely have folding rear seats, but a liftback with folding rear seats is basically fixes every problem with storage that one could have with a sedan and also the Avalon. And I thought the new Crown would basically be that, a comfortable vehicle that can seat 5 with immense practicality. So now you have a vehicle that's the worst of both worlds in my opinion. The main reason people buy SUVs is going to be for the practical storage and hatch that you cannot get in a sedan. A sedan buyer is probably not going to want to buy a raised sedan because you're going to be getting worse handling, worse fuel economy, and also worse SUV-like styling. The decision to raise the Avalon, to do all this SUV styling and then not give it a rear hatch, it's just baffling to me, and it makes frankly zero sense in my opinion. It's a major misstep, almost close to nearly a deal breaker in my opinion. And this is why my video is probably titled something like the worst of both worlds. So yeah, moving on from that big misstep in my opinion, let's move on to the interior. And honestly, I like most of what I see here. We do get a nice 12.2-inch digital screens, one for the gauge cluster and one for the infotainment. We're pretty well acquainted with Toyota's new multimedia infotainment system, so I'm not going to go too deep into that. But the gauge cluster looks nice and looks vibrant. The animations look very solid. The screen looks clear. The gauge cluster also seems fairly customizable. And from there, we have a steering wheel. Again, no Crown logo, as I said before. And honestly, this new steering wheel is not my favorite design. It kind of looks blocky and bloated. The midsection of the dash looks fairly ergonomic with actual buttons for the HVAC controls. We see a standard wireless charger and USB ports along with our drive modes and shifters. A big theme with this interior is going to be copper accents. We have copper accents on the seats, which look very comfortable in my opinion. There's going to be copper accents running along the dash and the AC vents, and the cup holders, the gear shifter area, on the steering wheel, and finally a little bit by the window controls. The rear is going to have no reclining seats like previous generations of the Avalon. My Avalon has reclining rear seats, but it is going to be spacious like previous Avalon, so you should have no problem fitting 2 to 3 adults back there. The rear seats will also get 2 USB-C outlets for the rear passengers standard, which is pretty good as well. So overall, I do like the overall design. It reminds me a lot of the Toyota Mirai. I do like the overall tech of this new interior, and I'll go over that more in the packages section of this video. but it seems to lack the luxury premium feel that is expected of a Toyota Crown and also a Toyota Avalon. It has the features, it has the fit, but not the finish in my opinion. So one example of this is that the Avalon had more premium touches in my opinion. For example, in limited models of the previous gen Avalon, it had quilted seats with quilted leather on the door panels. The previous generation of the Avalon used more premium materials such as wood or aluminum around the vehicle. If we look at the Avalon Limited, like I said before, you get wood on the dash, you get aluminum trim in other places, and this goes with many of the premium generations of the Avalon. So in my Avalon, there's wood around the dash, there's wood on the door panels and in the rear, and if you even look at the crown, there's lots of wood and those kind of premium materials that are on that vehicle. And I know wood is more of an older thing, so maybe that's what they were going for when they redesigned the crown, but maybe they could have used, a more pronounced trim piece and finishers just around the interior, in my opinion. It does have the copper, like I said before, but it just doesn't seem as nice. And I also heard multiple reviewers and articles when I was doing research on this vehicle mention a decent amount of plastic throughout, again, which is you kind of expect more for a vehicle that's wearing the crown plate and is also replacing a pretty luxurious Avalon. There's also missing some tech that the Avalon does have and is slightly stepped down. For example, there's a heads-up display that the Avalon has. Even the Camry has a heads-up display. Toyota mentions that there's ambient lighting throughout the interior, which I found hard to find when looking through the press photos. You get this when you step up to the Limited. But however, they could have made the ambient lighting more apparent throughout, and they could have also made it so you can change the colors, just like other premium luxury vehicles. Probably would have costed Toyota basically nothing, probably like an extra $1 or $2 in terms of lighting. It also seems like there's an overall sound system downgrade in my opinion when compared to the Avalon. The base crown gets 6 speakers standard. Meanwhile, the outgoing Avalon had 8. The optional JBL sound system in the Avalon had 14 speakers, while in this Avalon it has 11. And in fact, that's kind of weird by itself because most of Toyota vehicles have 12 speaker JBL audio systems, like a Camry, for example. So it's kind of bizarre. Toyota did say that they tuned it to match the crown, so maybe it's better, or the quality of the speakers itself are better, but we'll have to wait and see. And overall in tech, I'd say this is definitely an upgrade over Avalon, but in terms of that premium feel and luxury touch that you expect from an Avalon or a Crown, I feel like this is, I expected a little more considering this is wearing the Crown badge. And I'll probably categorize it with something like an upgraded Venza interior instead of the full-on premiumness that the Avalon and the Crown offered. Enough about the interior, let's move about the performance. So this is going to use Toyota's TNGA-K platform, and we're going to have a base engine in the XLE and the limited models, and that's going to be a 2.5 liter 4-cylinder engine. It's going to be pretty familiar with 2 motors and the internal combustion engine combined together with a planetary gear set. There's going to be a third motor that's going to drive the rear wheels, giving this all-wheel drive standard, which is pretty nice. Toyota claims that the setup is going to provide 236 horsepower. This is going to be paired to an electronically controlled CVT transmission. We're going to get different ratios of distribution of power to the front and rear wheels between fully front-wheel drive and 20 front-wheel drive and 80 rear-wheel drive. So in some cases, it's going to feel more rear-wheel drive based. You're going to get 38 combined city and highway driving. Down 6 from the previous gen Toyota Avalon, which got 44 mpg, albeit it was less powerful with only 215 horsepower. But I do feel like a good portion of the equation to this decrease is going to be the ride height, which means worse aerodynamics, meaning worse fuel economy. The engine does have an EV mode, which does allow you to drive an electric only for short periods of time at a very low speed. The top model is a little more interesting here. It's going to be the Platinum, and you're going to get this new thing called Hybrid Max. That's going to be a 2.4 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine, and that's going to make 340 horsepower, and it will reach peak torque at 2 to 3,000 RPM. The Platinum also adds 2 more electric motors, with an electric motor standing in for a torque converter plus a larger rear axle motor. So the front is going to be between 70 to 30, and then the rear will be 20 to 80 ratio. The Crown Platinum can do 0 to 60 in about 5.9 seconds. The Hybrid Max will only get about 28 miles per gallon combined. So this was a pretty big debate. And I thought it wasn't that bad because, it's a big vehicle, 340 horsepower, 28 sounds pretty reasonable, right? But when you think about it, it's kind of not that great when you consider that the previous Avalon with the V6 making 301 horsepower was about 26 combined. So this will probably get like 38, 26 maybe. And I feel like they could have done like easily over 30 combined. That would have been more reasonable. But I bet that also comes from raising the vehicle, creating more drag, creating worse fuel economy. So this Crown will actually ditch that CVT. So if you hate CVTs, this will be the one to get, and you'll get a new direct shift 6-speed automatic transmission. But you do get a front strut and rear multi-link suspension tuning. The Platinum grade is going to come with a standard adaptive variable suspension, and they use oil pressure shock absorbings. They also have a new method for fastening the steering gear, which makes it more rigid and direct handling, but it's also supposed to reduce noise and vibration. They have active corner assist, which helps engage stability control to reduce understeer in certain conditions. This is replacing the Avalon, so it does need to be pretty quiet, and Toyota has added acoustic glass, which is going to help with the sound deadening as well. And finally, Toyota has added a sound absorbing pad between the engine bay and the cabin to also help reduce that engine noise as well. So this should be a fairly quiet vehicle in general, considering that it is a hybrid and has all these sound deadening materials placed inside as well. So now let's get into the trims for the final part of the video. Again, the XLE is going to be your base model, and that's going to be your 2.5 liter all-wheel drive system. You're going to get that 19-inch alloy wheels, heated and power fabric front seats. You're going to get that new multimedia system with the dual 12.3-inch touchscreens and also 6 speakers. Interior-wise, it's available in any color as long as you like black. You do get standard 8-way power adjustable driver and front passenger seats. You do get lumbar support for the driver, standard heated front seats that can be adjusted to 3 levels, dual zone climate, wireless charging. You get about 5 USB ports. And you do get Toyota Safety Sense with blind spot monitoring and rear cross traffic alert. So overall, the base model is, you get pretty decent equipment, I'd say. The Limited is going to add those multi-beam LED headlights that look like they're from the VZ4X. You're going to get a nice fixed panoramic moonroof. It sucks that it won't open, but it is what it is. You're going to get Softex and fabric trim seats. You do get heated and ventilated seats up front though, and heated seats in the rear. You get that 11-speaker JBL sound system, rain sensing wipers, as well as intelligent clearance sonar with rear cross traffic braking. You're going to get that interior lighting system, which is going to include overhead, front and rear footwell lighting, cup holders, USB ports, and also door handles as well. And finally, to top it off, you're going to get a heated steering wheel. If you want a little bit more than what the Limited offers, there's going to be an advanced technology package that adds 21-inch wheels, a bird's eye camera, a 360 camera, digital key with a remote subscription. You shouldn't need a subscription to use your phone with your car. So that's a thumbs down for me, Toyota. Personally, I would say the base Limited is probably the one to go for, out of all these trims. Finally, we get to the Platinum. So that's going to include everything on the XLE and Limited, but you're going to get that new Hybrid Max powertrain, 340 horsepower, the adaptive variable suspension, advanced park, the same 21-inch wheels from the advanced technology package on the Limited, the 360 camera with perimeter scan, and you're also going to get genuine leather on the Platinum grade as well. If you take a look at price, the Toyota Crown, Toyota says that is going to expect it to replace the pricing of the Avalon. So the Avalon started around $37,000, $37,000. So I'm thinking it's going to be about $38,000 to $39,000 starting. And then we know the hybrid max powertrain is probably going to be fairly expensive. So it's going to be 50 grand. The previous Avalon's talked around $45,000, so 50 grand for that new hybrid powertrain. Seems like it makes sense. Personally, I do think that there's a lot to like about this vehicle. However, it falls short, in my opinion, by not providing the rear hatch, in my opinion. The premiumness and the overall interior quality seems to be a downgrade from what the Crown is, and also a downgrade in regards to the Avalon, in my opinion. The fuel economy is going to be inhibited by the ride height, and it gets going to be worse MPG all around. And just for reference, the Avalon Hybrid, the Venza, the Camry, the RAV4 all get better fuel economy than this vehicle. The only vehicle that this beats is like the 3-row Sienna and the Toyota, and it matches the Toyota Corolla Cross. So that's pretty much it. I do think it's a solid entry, but there's like a lot that they could have done better with. Overall, I give it a B minus B. Tell me what you would grade this down below. Leave it in the comments right below the like button. And that's pretty much it for me. And I'm going to be signing out for this video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.